Hello and welcome back to Read Becca. We are here for yet another monthly TBR. Very exciting. This is all going to be for the very popular and wonderful Nonfiction November Readathon. This is the full month of November. I've participated in past years, even before I was on BookTube, and I always really enjoy this readathon. It's put on by a Book Olive, and she does a great job making it very accessible. So the goal is just to read nonfiction, but she always gives us some word prompts to be very loosely interpreted. So I have loosely interpreted them. And yeah, we've got 4 prompts, and I've got many more than 4 books because that is how I roll with my TBRs. I always overestimate how much I'm gonna read. So that's fine. About half of these are from the library and half are from my own shelf, so I can prioritize here and there based on what I have to get back to the library, I think. So all of these are nonfiction. I do have another readathon coming up at the end of the month, but we'll do a separate TBR for that later. So let's get through this TBR so you can see what I'm planning to read. So first, well, this could be for multiple prompts, but I'm going to go ahead and use it for record because it's kind of a record. This is John Green's The Anthropocene Reviewed. Now, the Anthropocene is the current age of human influence on the world, and this is, as I understand, a collection of essays talking all about that, different kind of random things from John Green's life and experiences. And I had no real interest in picking this up for the longest time after it came out. It just didn't sound like my sort of thing, really. I haven't had any interest in John Green's work for myself. Like, John Green's perfectly fine as a person, no critique there, but I just was not drawn to it. And then, of course, people started raving about it. That didn't really influence me until I heard from Shannon from That's So Poe, and specifically that she was influenced by her husband Sush. So yeah, I decided I had to try it out at least. So I'm planning on kind of dipping in and out of this one. As I said, I think this is a collection of essays, so I should be able to spread this one out through the whole month. And a lot of people have said it's very emotional, so we'll see. We'll see if it has that impact on me. So that one really ties into my next 2. I really could have put them all in the same category. So this I'm using for element, and I'm loosely translating it as the human element, and that is The Uninhabitable Earth by David Wallace Wells. And this is Life After Warming, so this is on climate change, and The Sixth Extinction by Elizabeth Colbert. So both of those are about the human element and our impact on the world. And so for that interpretation, we've got The Sixth Extinction, which is all really talking about how humans have impacted the world's ability to sustain its level of biodiversity and the fact that we are currently undergoing a 6th extinction. And Uninhabitable Earth is, from everything I've heard, it's pretty bleak. So should be interesting. This was all over BookTube a while ago, and I just kind of missed out on it. I've checked it out from the library a couple times. In fact, it's gonna be a thing with another book too. I've checked it out from the library a couple of times and returned it without having read it because it is daunting in its bleakness from what I've heard. And I think this gets across that things are probably going to be worse than people are actually predicting, and people are really vastly underestimating how bad things are going to get. So that's nice sunny reading. So that was for element. I have both of those options. And then for secret, I have a really interesting one that I picked up in a haul last year, 9 Parts of Desire, The Hidden World of Islamic Women. So a secret is something hidden. So this is the hidden world. It's a secret world where this is from Geraldine Brooks, who's a very well-known author, but as well as fiction work that Geraldine Brooks has done. She was a foreign correspondent, as far as I understood. So she did some journalistic work and collected these stories from these Islamic women who don't really have the option to talk about their day-to-day lives. And so I think this is going to be exposing that to some degree. So really sounds very, very interesting. So that's for Secret. And then I have two possible interpretations of Border. So the first one is a tiny, tiny library book, and it's the very literal interpretation of the border. There's a border on here. So this is The Trouble with Reality, a Rumination on Moral Panic in Our Time by Brooke Gladstone. And so I think this is basically just an essay, or perhaps an adapted talk from her radio show where she sort of critiques media. Her radio show is called On the Media. Yeah. So that sounds like something I have an interest in. I really think that as it has like moral panic and moral outrage is continuously stoked by the media currently, and that's a pretty big topic to be informed on. So I'm really interested in reading this, and as I said, I've picked this one up as well a couple of times from the library and just as a filler and never really gotten around to it, so I would really like to read this finally. And then my other option for Border is a much looser interpretation, but this is one I definitely want to get read from my own shelf before the end of the year, and that is John Shelby Spong's Biblical Literalism, a Gentile Heresy. So I think of this as Border in terms of a dividing line, because obviously Judaism and Christianity are in very many ways interpreting the same text on a divide. So I think that's a really loose interpretation. So we can use either of these, though. I think it's fair. I've wanted to read this for a really long time. A Jewish friend of mine who was converting to Christianity recommended this to me, and it sounded very interesting. I'm not religious myself at this point in my life. I grew up kind of fundamentalist evangelical, and so I came from a very literal interpretation, and I have since learned that that's not universal at all. So I definitely have an interest in learning more about people who interpret things differently. And so yeah, this is definitely in my wheelhouse, but it's kind of big and chunky, so it has really slipped down from my TBR because I just keep not picking it up. So we want to pick this up and at least make some headway. So those are all my options, my pile for the readathon. I would love to read all of these. I probably will not because I have many other things going on, but at least we can get into some of these very exciting books. So let me know down below if you are participating in Nonfiction November, and if you disagree with any of my interpretations of the prompts, or if you have any better interpretations of the prompts for these, let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching.